Well, well, I thought for a minute that I wasn't going to be able to do this. Anyway, let me unplug it. Maybe that'll help. It's charging. So I want to get this up. Let me... Well, now I'm not ready for it to come on after all this. Okay. I hope nobody will lock me up for saying my real name. I've put it up on YouTube, and right at the moment I can't get YouTube. My real name is Margaret Anne Windsor, and I was kidnapped at age 2 and brought to Moulton, Alabama. I was born in 1939. Moulton is near Huntsville, Alabama, where the Space Center and the German scientists were forced to come over, and of course they were lied about. So I'm not going to say anything about that anymore. My identity was stolen, and I was given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey, and I married a Childers. Carl, the twin, was murdered by his mom, and then Peggy was about a week or 2 before my kidnapping. So I'm going to leave it there. Obviously, if you want to look at YouTube or Facebook or, there's there. I'm on there. It's Peggy Ann Childers. My attempts to get my name back, I don't know that would have bothered as long as I'm alive. But what's been done to me, other than attempts to kill me, that should have really, I don't know how I lived. But since I want to get this up, I wrote a book real quick about doctors I'd worked for, the MD, a license to kill. And it involved mind control and how you can program people to shoot and kill, like the Virginia Tech next door to me, mass murders. You can do it with knives. If you take away their guns, there's all kinds of weapons, and the wrong person pays for the crime. They tell you that they can't force you to do anything you don't want to with hypnosis. That is a friggin' lie. Now then, it's the Illuminati and Freemasons, but I live under the threat every day. So I'm going to get to this. I had a divorce before I started remembering and knowing about my birthright. I was kidnapped from England. It's who my father and mother are and who I am and my children. So that's all I'm going to say right now. I wanted to read from a divorce that was final, supposed to be final, August now I'm going to forget. It's supposed to be on here, I suppose. Anyway, it was final, and it was final on the day that Elvis Presley sold out. I remember that, the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, in 73. So that could be checked out. My husband, or ex-husband, got the tickets, and we went and was supposed to be divorced. Had the papers, and it was on the day that Elvis, we saw Elvis in 73, his last Omni sell out. So now then, I come here to where I live now, and I'm not going to try to make anything more out of it than Elvis was here, just stayed up where I'm staying here when it was new and pretty. And he lived upstairs in 219, I believe it was the room. They have a picture of him up here. I wanted to read my divorce, though. When I had the divorce decree, was getting it, my husband didn't show up to even contest it. So then I had Holcomb and Macduff, good attorneys there, and my husband at the time came and dictated the divorce to my attorney. Now then, I had copies, maintained them, because I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80, and I put all this up. So I just want to read from this and hope I get this up for whoever. I can't upload it on my video account, but anyway. I wanted to read it because I finally got it, and oddly enough, I visited the mail on the 27th, a few days ago of December. That's Lionel Dempsey's birthday. She was mother of the twins and murdered them, and nobody seems to care about that because it would tell who I am. They killed Peggy about a week to 2 weeks prior to my kidnapping and placing me there. Carl was killed first, earlier. Okay, I wanted to read from it. In this divorce paper that I got is not what my divorce papers read that I signed. I want to read it, and I don't know if I'll get this up, so let me go ahead. Part of it is true. And I mind you that I was put out on the street and horrible things happened to me when all the time all they had to do was, at least if they didn't let me get suits and criminal action done, I could have gotten some of my alimony. So, and by the way, the attachment to this, or addendum, is a lie too. It was reconstructed, the wordings, where it means nothing like it did. Okay, this is amendment to agreement. Well, amendment to agreement. Well, I don't know. Let me see here. Where am I reading from now? Is this the first page, or that's the last page? I guess. Final settlement. My God, that changed the whole thing. Okay, well, let me just read down here. Now comes the parties in the above. It's small print and copied, and it's old. And by the way, he married, supposedly, without my knowledge, took my apartment and my kids a lease and his name when I left to go out to his sister's in Abilene. They were certified public accountants and promised to help me move out there to get away from the repercussions for doing the books. And that's when I started finding out about my real name. And I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80 and told I should stop saying what I did about the doctors and getting my book published. Okay, oddly enough, the hell I went through, and it should have killed me. I ended up forced back to Huntsville, Alabama. My apartment taken. My ex-husband was allowed to sign it, and he then had my apartment and furniture, and it was all a lie, and my kids, which are his too. Now, I worked for the district attorney, Simpson, that year after all that was done to me, April Fool Day. I started to work for him and worked till he was up for election, and really they planned not to. Well, anyway, I'll leave it there. He wasn't reelected. I liked him, by the way. Now, I wanted to read this, and now that I'm seeing that it's got what? So this was never fulfilled. The only thing fulfilled was, and I'll read it, about my children. Now comes the parties in the above style case, and this their amendment to their initial agreement. This agreement to be in full force and effective, excepting, however, the additional benefits set forth in the amendment are to be considered as if it were contained in the original document itself, said provisions being as follows. Here's what I want to tell you. John, my ex's new wife, and they almost killed me, she had her hand in on it too. I specifically remember it very well because I thought it's odd that he's coming to my attorney and signing all this and didn't protest the divorce. Okay, when I came here to Roanoke and to draw my Social Security, I don't want to get her in trouble, and I thank her for it. But she said to me, your husband's wife has your divorce papers. She got the death benefits. It was supposed to be $100,000, written out $100,000 insurance policy if he died before me. Well, he did in 93, I believe. She got it, and she had access to this, and she knew that she was not entitled to it. Now, whoever reconstructed this, and when they did, I don't know, because I got another copy of the original, I don't know what time, after 83 or not. But none of it was ever fulfilled, and it would have kept the horrible things from happening to me had it been enforced at least a little. Now I'm looking at this. I got it the other day, and I really hadn't read over it that much. Let me see if I can read it and get it up. This will probably go off. Amendment to agreement. Now comes the parties in the above style case and file their amendment to initial agreement. The initial agreement being dated July the 23rd of 73, and said agreement to be in full force and effective. However, the additional benefits set forth in the agreement be considered as if it were contained in the original document itself, said previous. I mean, they've all got away with this. The new wife was in on it. Oh my God, she got the death benefits and everything. What is said in the original was anything my husband had or ever would have was half mine, which is, he's dictating this to my attorney. Now you know why. I guess my attorney had to have been. So not only was he leaving anything then that he had, but would have half of it to me. That was plain as day in a $100,000 policy. The only upon his death, he died of cancer in 93, I believe, about April, in Fulton County Hospital, with his new wife there. She knew all about this. She had to have been on this, changing it. She had copies. Now then, here's what it says. Number 1, John G. Childers, the defendant, shall maintain his Allstate. This had nothing to do with an Allstate insurance. Listen to the wording has changed. It was a $100,000 policy upon his death to be given to me. If I died first, or to die first, it was to go to my children, Mark and Scott. So, shall maintain his Allstate insurance policy number 15, I believe it is, I can't see, it's so small, 73065626 in a current status with the making payments for each and every payment as if and when they become due timely. John G. Childers shall further maintain Peggy Ann Childers as the primary beneficiary of said insurance policy, with their children being denominated as a secondary beneficiary if and in the event the primary beneficiary should predecease the payment of this policy. This restriction on maintenance of benefits and currency of the policy can only be changed by the written consent of Peggy Ann Childers. Well, I never did that. It says Clerk's Office, Superior Court, Cobb County, filed 73, I can't make it out, by something Lee. I don't know the clerk. It's too small and smudged. Okay, this is the final decree. This is the divorce. That's all I can say. October the 12th of 1973. Okay, I'm going to try to read final judgment and decree. custody visitations, I can't read it, to July the 28th of 73 to be amended date October the 8th of 73. That's a friggin' lie. Filed October the 10th of 73. James, whatever. I'm just going to get through with this the best I can. It's blurred, and you get the gist of what's happened to me. Nobody's paid for their crimes except me being hunted down. Somebody asked me, was I running from the law? Just the other day. It's been said before. It is in future agreed by and between the parties that hospitalization insurance will be maintained by John G. Childers. You should see what happened in all this April Fool Day. For and on behalf of the minor children. Well, that, I don't remember that being in there. It probably was. The parties, Mark and Scott, I won't read all of it, until each of said children reaches the age of 21. Marries, dies, or becomes self-supporting, whichever event occurs first. See, a lot of the wording in here has been changed. Said insurance that will be maintained will be of an adequate amount to take care of the responsibility anticipated medical and hospital expenses for and on behalf of said minor children. In witness whereof the parties hereto have act their hands and affix the seal this 8th day of October. This is a total lie. 1973. Ratifying and confirming the agreement of July the 13th, 73, and added to and amended by the above provisions. This, I'm not sure that's my handwriting there. Signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm just going to show this. Is that John's signature? I don't know. That doesn't look like his. By McDuff, my attorney. Holcomb and McDuff. Now, if this is still going up, in the Superior Court for the County of Cobb, this is the agreement. For now, come the parties in the above style case and file their agreement, which constitutes full settlement for all claims for alimony, distribution of property, custody of their minor children, to wit, Mark and Childers and Scott Childers, and any other claims plaintiff might have against the defendant, or that the defendant might have against the plaintiff arising out of the marriage relationship, or affecting the ownership of any assets in their name, or their joint using custody of their minor children. Plaintiff and defendant both accept the consideration herein as full and complete settlement of any and all claims they now have or may have in the future arising of their marriage relationship. Custody of their minor children or any joint ownership of property subject to modification based upon change of conditions as are allowed by law. The parties acknowledge that they are presently living in a bona fide state of separation, and they are not in this agreement touching upon the issue of divorce. Okay? Now, this is the second page, and it says, the minor children of the parties, Mark and Scott Childers, shall be under the complete temporary and permanent custody of their mother, Peggy Ann Childers, and the defendant, John Childers, shall have the right to visit with the children and the right to have the children visit him at reasonable times. If and in the event the parties cannot agree on reasonable times, the defendant, John Childers, shall have the right to visit with the children and the right to have the children visit him on the second and fourth weekends of each month. A weekend is defined as being 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturday I can't see, it's so small and blurred, to 6 p.m. on Sunday. In addition, the defendant, John Childers, shall have the right to have the children visit with for a period of 2 weeks during the summer school vacation period, providing he gives at least 2 weeks notice of time in which he desires the children to visit with him. The defendant shall pick up the children at the residence of the plaintiff and return the children to the residence of the plaintiff at appointed times herein set forth. The defendant, John Childers, shall pay to the plaintiff, Peggy Ann Childers, an alimony for the support and care of Peggy Ann Childers, Mark Childers, and Scott Childers, a total sum of $1,000 per month, commencing on the first day of August, 1973, and a like amount on the first of each month thereafter until terminated by death of Mrs. Peggy Ann Childers, or reduced as herein provided. Upon the first of said children becoming 21 years of age, marrying, dying, or becoming self-sufficient, whichever event occurs first. This is page 3. It's so small and these glasses are bad. Then the alimony herein provided shall be reduced by $200 per month for a total to be paid at $800 per month. Upon the second of said children becoming 21 years of age, marrying, dying, or becoming self-sufficient, whichever event comes first, then in that event the said alimony herein provided shall be reduced by an additional $200 each month, so that the amount after the second child marries, dies, or becomes self-supporting, whichever event comes first, to be paid shall be $600 a month to me. Whichever comes for it to be paid shall be $600 per month. Alimony does not terminate when Peggy Ann Childers with me remarrying. Further, said alimony shall continue to be a charge against the estate of John Childers should he predecease Peggy Ann Childers. Wow. And predeceases, what if they hadn't changed that? The completion of the termination event of alimony herein, I can't read it, herein described. In addition to the alimony in the preceding paragraph, John Childers agrees that if and in the event either or both of the children are continuing their regular full-time college course leading to an accredited 4-year degree, then he shall pay, after the 21st birthday of said children, an additional sum equivalent to the requirement of tuition, books, and living expenses for such child which is in satisfactorily pursuing an accredited course on a full-time basis until the said course is completed or until said children's 25 years of age, whichever event comes first. If it's further agreed by and between the parties that on occasion John Childers enters the business ventures, this is the part it's all, no, it plainly said anything he had, I would have half of it at the time of the divorce, and anything he ever had, I'd have half of it, which sounds, okay, like a good deal, right? Of course, okay, we'll leave it at that. You understand what I'm saying? This has all been altered except the one part about my children. It is further agreed by between the parties that on occasion John Childers enters into business ventures and partnerships outside of his regular salaried employment. That's a bunch of bull. Total lies. As to such business ventures Mrs. Peggy Ann Childers shall be a 50% partner with John Childers as, to existing of said businesses and corporations. He was working for R.J. Reynolds, by the way, and he had traveler's insurance. They've just totally rearranged it. Such capital for the venture shall be furnished by John Childers upon such termination or liquidation of a business return of the investing capital, and shall be made prior to a division of the surplus made by the company through appreciation or such a lie or profits, which said appreciation or profit shall, after return of the capital, he divided 50-50 between the two. Upon disbursement of or absence of managerial decision between Peggy Ann Childers and John Childers, Peggy Ann Childers shall control, provide, however, John G. Childers informs Peggy Ann Childers of such decisions made by him adverse to her provision stated point of view within 2 weeks of such decisions. John G. Childers has hereby released to Peggy Ann Childers such interest as he may have in the family home at 1191 Stevens Court, Marietta, Georgia, all household furniture and furnishings located therein, and the 1972 Buick Electra automobile presently in Peggy Ann Childers' custody, as well as all her personal effects, jewelry, and articles of adornment. Peggy Ann Childers does hereby release to John Childers such interest as she may have in the 1972 Chevrolet Impala automobile and all the personal effects, jewelry, and articles of adornment. The attorney's fee for Holcomb and Macduff attorneys shall be paid by the plaintiff, Peggy Childers. Oh, me, wow. The party, he was held liable for all the other but not paying that bill, right? That's a total, except about my children. It's it's changing the words and meaning of the original decree, the only one that I signed. The parties herein warn and agree that the agreement is in full, final, and complete settlement of any and all rights they either have growing out of the marital relationship, subject to modification as provided by Georgia law. What a sick, all of it. It is hereby agreed that this agreement may be made judgment of Cobb Superior Court and become a part of the final judgment and decree in the divorce action, which is filed simultaneously with the agreement in Cobb Superior Court. This agreement is executed in the, I can't see, it's, I think this is triplicate, and the parties herein consent and agree that any case or matter between the relatives to the issue that relates to the issue herein contained, in witness whereof the parties hereto have hereunto set their hands and affixed their seal the 23rd day of July of 73. That's not my handwriting. There again, John's, it doesn't look like, I do remember, and that doesn't look like John's. Now that's it, a total lie. And all the other crimes committed against me, I can't even use my real name. In fact, I'm subject to what happened to Anastasia up here in Charlottesville, Virginia, May the 4th on a Sunday of 84. After she was murdered. An attorney had her locked up Preston. Last name was Preston. He didn't even know her. Anastasia, the real Anastasia, was married to Professor Monahan, Mayhan, that taught at the University of Virginia. They had a home in Scottsville, just outside Charlottesville. She was the real Anastasia, and the person that took care of their farm for 18 years knew all about Anna and Monahan, and he was a good man. They come out and locked her up, put her in you should say prison up here in what am I trying to say? It's a mental hospital up near Charlottesville. He had never seen her. Monahan tried to get her out. He even busted, this is her husband, a professor. He busted the big fence down. He drove his car through it. He could not get her out. They friggin' murdered her. The odd thing about this, I had been in a campaign to replace Larry McDonald, a doctor in Atlanta and U.S. congressman. I was there and to replace him in a campaign. I was flown out to Larry Flint's, who supported me in the campaign, because he had been murdered in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was living at Moonraker apartment in 78. He endorsed me in Hustler April of 84, I believe, for president, after he'd helped me in the U.S. Congress election. I came in 7 out of 20. Anyway, in that, he says, Mr. Flint said, I knew who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia. It was a program shooting, and he furnished me. I didn't win the election. I was flown out there twice to his home. He did furnish me a car for a year, leased it. Then he shows up in Roanoke before I came here in federal court, and they put him in jail for telling the truth. Now, I'm going to have to go, I think, and my thing has been Anastasia had her entrails left, a few intestines, and they were sent off, and it came back and said she wasn't Anastasia. Oh, yes, she was. I was driving the Hustler car. I tried to turn it in, and when she died on a Sunday morning, as I drove through there, which is odd. I think it was May the 4th. It was Sunday of 84, and that was the year I was written up in Hustler magazine again and supported for president. Now then, an FBI agent sent me the copy of Hustler and called me on my phone up there from Hustler. So I'm not downing the FBI. I'm talking about your average person who has let this happen, and they've known every step of the way the truth. The press will not touch it, the Illuminati, but they will cover Elizabeth and company, who are illegal. And I'm not going to say who my dad is. I've already said it, and my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, yeah, I will too. I'm waiting for the handcuffs to come on and do me just like they did Anastasia, and she's dead. Can you imagine how this lady died and they lied about it? Blue Ridge Mental Health Hospital. Okay, I'm going to go. If any of the money that was owed me had ever been given to me, I wouldn't have had to live the life I have. Instead, John Childers took over my apartment when I was gone for 3 or 4 days, trying to get away with what was happening in Atlanta to me. And by the way, I had the letter from the FBI that was given to me, sent to me on June the 23rd of 79. June 23rd is my father's birthday, by the way. Now, it ended up that my ex-husband came back because there was sugar being put in the lifters of my son's cars and trying to kill us. It was sick spiders that weren't even here in the States per Sears that I finally got out to tell me what they were. It was a horror story living there at Laurelwood Apartments. By the way, the manager there told me that her uncle, I believe she said, was in charge of the Patty Hearst kidnapping. You're getting into the Patty Hearst people on the Atlanta Journal, where we would go into all the televisions there, and we would go into Ralph Nader and Dr. Wolf that worked for him. We would go into NOW, the National Women's Health. Nobody would help us. The only person that offered was Arthur Kretschmer of Playboy magazine. Can you get this? All your highfalutin media that's nothing but a bunch of, just like Trump said, liars. Excuse me, they're friggin' liars. Would not touch the takedown of my dad. I'm not allowed to say that, am I? I did on YouTube. You wait for the handcuffs to come to the front door, and you're gone and dead, just like Anastasia, and they'd say I was lying. No, I haven't lied about anything. I just read you the divorce. Even that they got to. They could get to anybody. Because I don't have any civil rights. Martin Luther King. Guess who was in Atlanta? Reverend Andrew Young. And he becomes a part of this whole mess. Nobody wants to tell all of this. They really don't. They don't need to take Trump down. They need to go back and take every friggin' one you had since George Washington, because there's where your global government came in, sitting right up there as the United Nations.